Hero, directed by Zhang Yimou, is a modern retelling of the assassination attempt perpetrated by Jing Ke upon Qin Shi Huangdi, the future king of Qin and first emperor of a unified China. Zhang Yimou uses every design tool at their disposal to create a modern mythology from historical time and fact. Hero uses clothing, set design, color, and cinematography to paint a picture of the Seven Warring States period, from 481 to 221 BCE, in China's history, while simultaneously incorporating Confucianism and Taoism into its messaging. All these aspects come together to tell a fictional story set around Qin Shi Huangdi, the first emperor of a unified China. This retelling elevates the story of the unification of China to a modern mythology. Though fantastical, Hero includes much historical content to give it context. Hero opens by describing the Seven Warring States period. The states of Yan, Zhao, Chu, Qi, Wei, Han, and Qin have been at war for many years when Qin Shi Huangdi comes to the throne of Qin. Qin was the most powerful state, and Qin Shi Huangdi decided to unite the seven separate warring states and create Our Land, a unified China. The phrase Our Land is one way of translating the name of Tianxia, and though it has been retranslated in multiple ways throughout the movie's release, the translation to Our Land keeps with the theme of the movie, unification of disparate states into a whole. The opening credits of Hero prepare the viewer for the violence that they are about to witness with the following phrase: people give up their lives for many reasons, for friendship, for love, for an ideal, and people will kill for the same reasons. This statement and the historical knowledge imparted to the viewer enable us to view this movie through the lens of unification and violence for a purpose. One of the foremost storytelling used in this film is color. Throughout Hero, the director uses stark color transition as the viewer hears different versions of the same story, and each color relates to specific feelings, emotions, and characters. The colors primarily used are black, red, blue, white, and green, and they are used to represent different versions of the same story. Black is the most prominent and important color in the film because it is associated with the emperor and his court. Throughout the movie, the emperor's clothing, palace, and court all remain in black, symbolizing the calm power of the Qin emperor and his court, as well as the cold-blooded quality of the power of the empire. The Zhao red in the second telling of Nameless's story is used to show jealousy and love, the prime catalyst for action. The blue of the third act symbolizes freedom and peace. The white in the fourth act symbolizes a pure world. The usage of white also marks a turning point in the film, when Nameless decides against the assassination of the emperor. White is also commonly used as a funeral color, and it juxtaposes with the red blood of broken sword and flying snow as they die their true deaths together. The last color transition in the fifth act is green. Green is representative of hope and new life, which will be achieved by the unification of China. These color transitions also have historical accuracy, which gives them context. After his rise to power, the emperor created sumptuary laws. This included a colored clothing system based on class and position. Officials of a third rank or above wore green shenyi, which is wrapped clothing. Higher class officials wore black, and common people wore white. Black was also the color primarily used by the emperor to signify his power. The clothing design of the characters also has historical content. The armor and clothing worn by the main characters, Nameless, the Emperor, and the army, resembled the armor and clothing found of the terracotta army in Qin Shi Huangdi's burial complex, where there are thousands of examples of clothing, hairstyles, and weapons worn and used by the various members of Qin Shi Huangdi's court and army. The likeness between those depicted in the movie and those historical objects isn't coincident. The intricate braid and bun style of the male characters is a direct replication of those worn by the terracotta soldiers in the emperor's burial complex. There are other ancient Chinese artifact references throughout the movie as well. One such example is made in the beginning of the movie, in the emperor's main hall, where the throne is. There is a large set of bells being played. These bells are visually very similar to the bell set found in the tomb of Marquis Yi from 433 BCE. Though the film is set 200 years later, one can imagine that this ornate instrument continues to be used by those in high states of power. The gu qin, a plucked 7-string ancient Chinese instrument, is also played in the first act of the movie. The addition of these two historical instruments not only gives the movie greater context, it also adds a musical element that helps to create tension and tell the story. Another important historical reference made in the film is a nod to the importance of calligraphy. A large portion of the stories told throughout the film take place in a calligraphy school in the state of Zhao. The calligraphy mirrors the martial arts and swordplay utilized by the main characters. The use of calligraphy in the movie also aids in the theme of unification, as there are over 20 ways to write a single character, the word sword. The best example of calligraphy is a large-scale character written by Broken Sword for Nameless, to be delivered to the emperor. The character depicted is Sword, and at the climax of the movie, the Emperor describes the meaning of this character as an ideal warrior should have no desire to kill. This paradoxical statement simultaneously shows us the power behind calligraphy and that the Emperor has the knowledge of the importance of peace. The set design and background scenery in Hero also references Chinese scroll paintings. When one views the beautiful scenery, one is reminded of the monumental mountain scroll paintings of the Northern Song dynasty, such as pure and remote views of hills and streams, made in the 13th century Song academic style. The massive mist-covered mountains are seen multiple times throughout the different storytellings in this film and evoke the same feelings of peace and tranquility as the scroll paintings. The main character, Nameless, embodies two of the most important Chinese religions, Taoism and Confucianism. Nameless is derived from the meaning of Tao, which is defined as cannot be told or nameless. This religious reference in the naming of the main character sets the viewer up for the main turning point of the movie. Instead of going through with the assassination, Nameless decides to walk away from the Emperor and die willingly, thus submitting to non-action. The concept of non-action is a Taoist ideal and is the foundation of the religion. The film also uses multiple aspects of Confucianism. The primary focus of Confucianism is moral virtue and social harmony, and though the religion was suppressed in favor of a legalist and autocratic form of government during the Qin dynasty, aspects of the religion still found their way in. The rigid rules for society that are part of the Confucianist ideal are mirrored in the way the court and the army visibly function. They are precise and aligned at every moment, always following orders. Nameless also follows the strict rigidity of Qin law. The most extreme example of the values of Confucianism are during the climax of the film. After Nameless walks away, the Emperor's vassals remind him of the importance of Qin law and that all laws must be obeyed by all people if the unification of China is to succeed. This leads to Nameless's death by 1,000 arrows, which he calmly accepts, because he too believes in the unification of China. Nameless is then buried as a hero, showing the importance of following the rule of law, and that his sacrifice was necessary to unify China. This shows Nameless being used as a tool to fill a larger ideal. His death also rationalizes the social structure of personal sacrifice for the greater good. Because this movie was made and produced in China, stars Chinese actors, and uses the Chinese language exclusively to tell a story, there are few instances of cultural misuse or appropriation. However, this does not mean that the film does not have any uncomfortable moments of Orientalism. The violence juxtaposed with the beauty of the martial arts use and the set design, coupled with the mystification of the historical events, show Asian culture as it is imagined in the Western gaze. However, the use of Western colonial gaze is not the only aspect of this movie which deserves more scrutiny. Throughout the film, one is constantly confronted with violence, that violence being a key theme in the movie and in the Seven Warring States period historically. This violence helps create a Chinese political agenda. It delivers a fantastical story of the unification of the Seven Warring States and creates an opportunity to excuse violence when it is done with the intent of greater good. It is also important to note that at the beginning of this analysis, I said that the translation of Tianxia is our land. This is just the American translation. In the original Chinese, it translates more accurately to under heaven. This translation was considered unpalatable for the American people because it alludes to Chinese imperialism. Hero uses beautiful set design and a truly inspiring story to distract the viewer from the violence occurring. It does this with the intent to inspire the Chinese people with visions of their nation's historical unification, while also excusing the violence as a necessary evil and a path to peace.